In the modern age of digital hypervisibility, we are constantly bombarded by financial theater. We see the rented Mediterranean villas, the leased supercars, and the high-definition displays of curated excess. But as a senior analyst, I invite you to look past the stage lights. In the world of true capital accumulation, we operate under a different mental model: stealth wealth. The reality is that the most formidable fortunes are often hidden in plain sight, carried by individuals who have mastered the art of being financially significant while remaining socially invisible. The paradox of wealth is that visibility is a liability. When you broadcast your balance sheet through loud luxury, you are effectively paying a signaling tax. You invite unsolicited advice, predatory lawsuits, and the resentment tax from social circles. Genuinely wealthy individuals understand pragmatic anonymity. They recognize that true security doesn't come from the validation of strangers on the internet, but from the privacy of their own numbers. This is why the person sitting across from you in a worn-out flannel shirt at a local diner might have more liquidity than the entire front row of a fashion show. This leads us to a fundamental shift in financial psychology. While the middle class uses money to project a status they haven't yet secured, the wealthy use money to secure a status they no longer need to project. They have moved beyond the need for external ego inflation because they possess something far more valuable: structural autonomy. By choosing the invisible path, they protect their cognitive bandwidth from the noise of social competition. They aren't playing the game of who looks the best today. They are playing the long-term game of who owns their time tomorrow. Wealth whispers because it has nothing to prove. Fake wealth screams because it has everything to lose. At the core of every substantial fortune lies a psychological fortress built on second-order thinking. While the average consumer is trapped in a stimulus response loop, see an item, feel the desire, click buy now, the wealthy individual operates on a different temporal plane. They have graduated from simple delayed gratification to what I call value optimization. They don't just wait to buy, they wait for the math to align with their long-term strategy. Most people view a purchase as a logical conclusion to a need. However, the wealthy perceive most consumer desires as emotional hijacking disguised as logic. By enforcing a mandatory waiting period, sometimes weeks or even months, for a major acquisition, they allow the dopamine fog to dissipate. This gives them the clarity to ask, does this asset serve my mission, or am I merely paying for a fleeting neurological spike? This patience is a strategic advantage. In the world of finance, patience is a form of capital. By waiting, the wealthy person often captures the patience premium. They buy when the market is quiet, when the sale is genuine, or when the asset has already cleared its initial peak of inflated value. They understand that almost everything from technology to luxury goods eventually undergoes a price correction. By refusing to pay the early adopter tax, they preserve the principal that will later be deployed into compounding assets. Furthermore, this habit is the ultimate filter for decision fatigue. By being ruthlessly selective, they protect their cognitive energy for high-stakes investment decisions. They aren't interested in deals that save them pennies on things they don't need. They are interested in value realization. To the secretly wealthy, a $2,000 discount on a $10,000 item they don't need is still an $8,000 loss. This mental discipline is often what makes them wealthy long before the millions arrive in the bank. They treat their capital with the respect it deserves, realizing that every dollar spent today is a soldier they've permanently removed from their future army of compounding interest. In the ledger of the secretly wealthy, there is one line item that takes precedence over all others: the return on time. While the aspiring rich are busy accumulating stuff that requires maintenance, storage, and protection, the truly wealthy are engaged in a different form of arbitrage. They are trading their capital for the only resource that is truly non-renewable. This is the mental model of time sovereignty. To a person with a high net worth mindset, a $5,000 monthly expense on a private chef, an executive assistant, or a specialized household manager isn't a flex, it's a tactical acquisition of cognitive bandwidth. If your time is worth $500 an hour as a strategist or investor, spending 2 hours a week grocery shopping and meal prepping is effectively a $1,000 loss. The wealthy person views this as a negative carry. By outsourcing the mundane, they buy back the inventory of hours required to focus on high-leverage activities that generate exponential returns. But notice the nature of these expenditures. They are invisible luxuries. You won't see these on an Instagram feed. There is no status gain from a clean house or a pre-prepped healthy meal in a private kitchen. This is the ultimate sign of financial maturity. They are willing to pay a premium price for services that the outside world never sees, because the reward isn't social validation, it's freedom. Consider the Saturday morning comparison. The rich individual is spending their Saturday at the dealership getting their financed luxury car serviced, or at the boutique buying clothes to maintain an image. The wealthy individual is completely off the grid. Their home is being maintained by professionals they've hired, their errands are being run by an assistant, and they are spending those same hours in deep work on their next acquisition or in high-quality engagement with their family. They are purchasing a life without friction. By removing the small, irritating tasks that drain mental energy, they maintain a state of ready air, a military term for being prepared to strike when a major investment opportunity arises. While the crowd is distracted by the maintenance of their possessions, the secretly wealthy are focused on the maintenance of their autonomy. They don't just have money, they have the power to say no to anything that doesn't serve their highest purpose. That is the ultimate luxury that no gold-plated accessory could ever provide. In the world of structural engineering, a margin of safety is the capacity of a system to withstand loads far beyond what is expected. In the world of wealth, the secretly wealthy apply this same principle to their primary residence. While the average professional views their home as a trophy, maximizing their mortgage to the absolute limit of what the bank will allow, the wealthy individual views their home as a functional cost center. The logic is simple but profound. Your house is a consumption item, not a production asset. Every extra 1,000 square feet you buy doesn't just increase your mortgage. It creates a cascade of secondary expenses. It means higher utility bills, more expensive property taxes, increased insurance premiums, and a geometric rise in maintenance costs. By living in a home that is significantly below their financial capacity, the secretly wealthy are protecting their liquidity. Consider the psychological trap of the McMansion. When you buy a house that consumes 40% of your take-home pay, you have effectively traded your optionality for a pile of bricks and mortar. You are now a high-earning prisoner. You cannot afford to take a career risk, you cannot pivot into a new business venture, and you cannot weather a significant economic downturn without panic. You have no margin of safety. The secretly wealthy individual, however, treats their home as a base of operations. By keeping their housing costs at a fraction of their income, perhaps 10% or 15%, they create a massive capital surplus. This surplus is the oxygen that allows their wealth to grow. While their peers are house poor, spending their weekends at home improvement stores to fill empty rooms, the wealth builder is deploying that same capital into the markets. They understand that a house should serve your life, not dominate it. A modest home in a safe, high-quality neighborhood provides 90% of the utility of a mansion at 20% of the cost. To the value-driven mind, the remaining 80% is better spent on assets that actually pay you to own them. They don't need a grand foyer to feel successful. They find their validation in the strength of their balance sheet and the peace of mind that comes from knowing they could lose their primary income tomorrow and not miss a single mortgage payment for years. In the study of evolutionary biology and economics, we analyze signaling theory, the idea that individuals send signals to convey information about their status or fitness. In the financial world, most people use conspicuous consumption to signal wealth they often don't have. The secretly wealthy, however, utilize a different mental model: counter-signaling. They adhere religiously to the 3E rule. They never discuss their earnings, their expensive purchases, or living in excess. This isn't just about modesty. It is a sophisticated form of social risk management. When you broadcast your earnings, you aren't just inviting admiration. You are inviting liability. You become the family bank, the prime target for frivolous lawsuits, and the subject of expectation inflation from friends. By maintaining a verbal silence on their financial success, the wealthy preserve the anonymity premium. They want to be treated based on their character and intellect, not the size of their brokerage account. Consider the psychology behind the expensive purchase signal. When someone constantly mentions the price of their watch or the cost of their vacation, they are attempting to maximize the social return on investment. Because they likely stretch their budget to afford the item, they need the external validation to justify the expense. They are status-seeking. The truly wealthy individual experiences a different reality. They purchase the high-quality item because it serves a functional purpose or provides personal joy, not as a tool for social manipulation. To them, discussing the price feels vulgar and, more importantly, unnecessary. If you have $10 million in liquid assets, you feel zero biological urge to prove your worth to a stranger at a cocktail party. You have achieved internal validation. The third E, excess, is the final guardrail. The secretly wealthy understand that excess is a magnet for the wrong kind of attention. Flashy displays of wealth attract rent-seekers, people who want to profit from your success without contributing value. By avoiding outward excess, the wealthy maintain a low-profile lifestyle that allows them to move freely through the world. They would rather have the freedom to walk through a grocery store unnoticed than be the guy with the Ferrari whom everyone expects to pay the tab. In your journey toward long-term wealth, remember that every time you feel the urge to signal your success, you are effectively paying a tax on your privacy. The 3E rule is the armor that protects your fortune from the friction of society. When you no longer feel the need to prove you have money, that is the exact moment you have truly mastered it. In the world of asset management, there is a fundamental law of physics: entropy. Most consumer goods are designed to lose value the moment they leave the showroom, And nowhere is this more aggressive than in the automotive industry. To the secretly wealthy, a vehicle is a utility tool, not an identity extension. They apply a mental model of value optimization by leveraging depreciation curves. The math is brutal and undeniable. A brand new luxury vehicle loses approximately 20% of its value the second it is driven off the lot, and up to 60% within the first 5 years. While the aspirational rich are busy financing $80,000 status symbols at 7% interest, the secretly wealthy are looking for the inflection point, that sweet spot in the curve where the asset has already absorbed its most violent loss of value, but still retains its mechanical integrity. Consider the opportunity cost of the car payment. If you finance a car for $700 a month, you aren't just losing $8,400 a year, you are forfeiting the compounding power of that capital. Let's run the numbers. If you take that $700 and invest it in a diversified portfolio with an 8% annual return over a decade, you would have over $120,000. The person driving a 10-year-old paid-off Lexus or Honda isn't cheap, they are mathematically superior. They have realized that the utility of being moved from point A to point B is identical in a $15,000 car and a $100,000 car. However, the $85,000 difference, when left to compound, is the difference between an early retirement and a lifetime of working for the car. By purchasing a vehicle that is 5 to 7 years old, the wealthy person lets the first owner pay the status tax. They wait until the depreciation curve flattens. This allows them to own a high-quality, reliable machine while their capital stays deployed in assets that actually grow. They treat cars like they treat any other business equipment. They look for the lowest total cost of ownership, TCO. When you see a millionaire in a decade-old SUV, don't feel sorry for them. They aren't struggling. They are simply refusing to let a depreciating piece of metal steal their future freedom. The ultimate sign of the secretly wealthy isn't found in what they own, but in how they react. There is a specific frequency of energy, a quiet confidence that emanates from financial serenity. While the rest of the world is in a state of perpetual high alert over inflation, gas prices, or the next market correction, the wealth builder remains unshakable. To them, money has transitioned from a source of anxiety to a systemic tool. When a high-end laptop dies or a major home repair emerges, there is no financial drama. There is no emergency board meeting at the kitchen table or frantic search for a payment plan. They simply resolve the issue and move on. They don't post about the new purchase, and they don't complain about the cost. They have achieved the highest level of financial maturity. Indifference to consumption. Wealth, in its truest form, is the silence that follows a problem. It is the ability to walk through life without the constant, gnawing need for external validation. When you no longer need to prove you are successful, you have finally achieved the very thing everyone else is chasing. As we close this forensic audit of the wealthy mindset, ask yourself, are you building a stage for a performance, or are you building a fortress for your freedom? The path to secret wealth requires the courage to be unimpressive today so that you can be unstoppable tomorrow. Stop playing the game of theater. Start playing the game of math. Wealth whispers because it is already home. The 9 signs analyzed here represent more than just frugal habits. They constitute a systemic defense strategy against the erosion of personal capital. In a hyper-connected economy, the most dangerous overhead an individual can carry is social expectation. By maintaining a stealth wealth posture, the investor effectively eliminates the signaling tax and protects their cognitive bandwidth for high alpha decision-making. The most noteworthy signal is the deliberate rejection of depreciating status symbols in favor of time sovereignty. This channel's exclusive takeaway is this: modern wealth is no longer about the accumulation of objects, but the minimization of friction. If your lifestyle requires constant social validation to feel successful, you are not wealthy, you are merely a high-income tenant of a fragile ego. The truly sovereign individual is the one who can afford to be the poorest-looking person in a room full of debtors.